Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. So, thank you my members, full crew members of Lane 11B, Cots and Crazy Bull. Thank you all the Fox Band members and the Fish Band members. Thank you, it helps a lot. Make sure to subscribe and let's get into it. So, one of the last aircraft that we're going to do a video about the new BR changes. We are going to do one more on the J32 as well, but this is one of the last ones. The CL-13 Mk6. It's the final evolution of the CL aircraft, the Canadian Sabres, and it is basically the most powerful one. It is an amazing aircraft, to be honest. It has its problems, but the aircraft itself, it has its problems of being a Sabre. It will still have the other Sabres problems, so it compresses a little bit sometimes, and it has the problem of not having a very you know large max speed. It doesn't have properly good missiles and stuff like that, but in this BR the M9Bs are pretty alright. The differences between the normal CL Mark 5 than the or even the other Sabres, to this one, especially it's the Orenda 16, I think it's called, which is the most advanced Orenda engine that was put it in a Sabre. And this engine is just amazing, man. It has basically 33, 34 kilonewtons. It is a very, very strong engine. It doesn't have an afterburner and still produces a lot of power, So a MiG-21F, for example, could produce about 40 kilonewtons without an afterburner. So it's a middle of the 60s aircraft that has a very powerful engine. It is very, very light. And yeah, just a very amazing aircraft. It's the best Sabre that we have in the sense of power. It doesn't have the larger wings of the F40, the Sabre F40, but it does have the slats, which also helps a lot. So it is, for me, the best Sabre in the game. It is light because it doesn't have the radar of the F86K. The guns are the main problem with it. 50 cals are not the greatest thing ever, to be honest, it's the worst thing about the aircraft. So yeah, everything else, it is very easy to use. The missiles are very good. I always get at least one kill each game with it. And now it is in 9.3. It was a 9.7 aircraft, and with the obviously the Su-25 that was added, and the A10 at these BRs, 9.7, then 10.0, now 10.3, the A10, but the Su-25 is still on 9.3, 9.7. It can be a very bad problem of these aircraft. Um, you can face a lot of F5s, F104s, F4s, aircraft like that. It can be very difficult to win a dogfight sometimes, or even outrunning and stuff like that. But to be honest, you are kind of the best, kind of these second generation aircraft, so it is just doable. You can actually be survivable with this. The only real problem is, as I was saying, the 60M of the Su-25 and the AIM-9L of the A10, and sometimes even the AIM-9G, because you are kind of slow. So an AV-8 that fires a AIM-9 on you, it can be problematic sometimes. The C Vixen as well. These missiles can have a negative effect on your survivability if you are not careful. So the missiles are the real problem against this aircraft. But in performance, because of its engine and its turning capability, it turns better than most aircraft in this VR. And with the engine, you can actually properly maintain a very good turn rate continuously. So yeah, it's a very, very potent aircraft. And I think at 9.3, to be honest, you face a lot of. It depends very much on many things. So I was flying alone sometimes, and sometimes with a friend in these video clips. And as you're going to see, when I was flying with a friend, for example, this one was kind of not the real like kind of matchmaking that I was getting most of the time. Flying with a friend with a CL Mark 6 as well, I was getting a lot of down tiers, and then I was just, you just stomp everybody because you are facing a lot of aircraft that are not capable to deal with your speed, and it has problems against your turn rate and roll speeds as well. They don't have A9s and stuff like that. They are not prepared to deal with A9s sometimes. So yeah, when this aircraft gets a down tier, it's a very, very good aircraft. It's a great aircraft. I wouldn't say it's OP, but it is very, very good. But most of the time, especially flying alone or together with somebody that is flying like with the A10, not the A10, the Americans, because for some reason the 9.3 and the Americans, they tend to just be picked up by the lower tiers tend to be picked up by the A10s and stuff like that. So when you are flying together with an American friend or stuff like that, it can be a problem. You get a lot of up tiers. But even in the up tiers, it was the easier aircraft to fly against these up tiers. The F40 was, the F40 was changed to 9.0, but you get any aircraft that I've flown on these past days that were 9.3, especially the American ones, the F3H and the F4D. I was having problems with these aircraft in the sense of the up tiers. Once I get up tiers, I would just die. It would not be a very good match. In general, it would be problematic and stuff like that. And with the CL, it's fine. To be honest, it's really fine. You can face them, and in a 1v1 like this, an F5 is a very scary aircraft for such an aircraft like this. But I'm managing to keep him on his toes basically, and obviously I'm getting attacked by multiple aircraft here, but still, as you see, I can deal with the situation pretty well. So I just think it's one of the best 9.3 that we have right now. I still think that an aircraft like the MiG-21 PFM or even the F-13, they're better than this aircraft, just because you have the speed and you will still dogfight pretty well. But the CL, it is one of the best, of these second generation kind of subsonic aircraft, it is probably the best out there. It really is. As I said, yeah, you gotta deal with the enemy in a certain way, right? If you can. But as you saw, the 50 cals, they weren't doing anything. If I had a 30mm there, or even a 20mm like the F3H, I would have killed the F5. But with the low ammo, the F5 too, it's very survivable. So yeah, the 50 cals don't do a lot of damage, and that's a problem with any saber, not the normal ones. So yeah, it's something that you have to deal with every match, basically in every saber. So it's basically the only problem that I see with this aircraft is the speed, obviously, because you are facing a lot of supersonic aircraft sometimes. But when you are facing, here is a down tier, for example, you're just fine. This aircraft, F-84, for example, the E4 aircraft like that, they won't have the speed advantage on you, and you still are accelerating sometimes faster than them. Your roll is a lot better. So for being a defensive position, the roll rate of the Saber is amazing, especially against MiGs. For example, the MiG-15 and 17, they have problems dealing with that. Even the 19 can have problems with that compared to the roll rate of the Saber. So yeah, it is an aircraft that, as I said, it has its tiny problems, but the majority of the performance of it is amazing. It's amazing. It is a very, very good aircraft. It can maintain its energy like no other subsonic aircraft like this. So yeah, it is just a very, very capable aircraft, and much easier than the other ones that I told you about that were 9.3. And I made a mistake. I told you that the F4D is 9.3, but now it is 9.0. But still at 9.0, that aircraft suffers a bit. So yeah, it is just kind of like that. It's an aircraft that it's much easier than those. Even though the F3H can be a very, very good aircraft because of its cannons, the CL is just, it has the performance advantage. As I said, be careful just with the 50 cals. They can be a bit problematic. You know how they are. It's not like they are an amazing gun that needs to be, like, uh, it's not like a bad gun either. It's a mix between. It depends. In a head-on, for example, with the tracer rounds, you can get a lot of head-on kills. But beyond that, it's just when you are behind somebody, And normally aircraft have armor plates behind the head of the pilot, so you have to basically kill because the 50 cal would not penetrate too much. It's just it's problematic, you know. Sometimes you will expand like 100 rounds, 200 rounds to kill an enemy. Sometimes you expand 800 rounds and go half of your ammo just to kill one guy, because the guy just it's hits, doesn't catch on fire sometimes, and it's weird. So I'm not I mean, it's an easy gun to use. It's very easy to hit a target, but it is, you know, as you see here, hit, crit it, but nothing too major, and yeah, it's basically dead, and somebody else has got the kill. Here's another thing that the aircraft suffers is from kill steals. Has a lot of kill steals. So yeah, problematic, right? But still, and the AIM-9s, they're also, I mean, amazing. You know, they're not the greatest missile ever. Obviously, they are not, because they are basically the first missiles ever to be like actually made be into production. You know, but you can get kills, as I said. At least one kill every match. You know, people tend to fly very slow in these subsonic aircraft, and that tends to be very easy to get kills. You know, you can get kills from 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers. It's pretty easy to get kills like that, just because the targets are flying so slow. So the missile have the time to actually turn and do everything that he wants to do. But yeah, these A5 that I killed, it's one of the examples. I mean, I expended like 300 rounds to kill it. But then there's sometimes I just shoot like 1,000 rounds and nothing happens to the target, or it's just critted and return to base or anything like that. So you have to be careful, because you feel like you have a lot of ammo, but you actually don't have. I mean, you have it, but it's sometimes not enough still, because it is the 50 cals. So just be careful with that, okay, if you are trying to use these 50 cals and these aircraft in particular. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this aircraft. I think it's an amazing aircraft. I had a major good time flying it. I mean, it was so fun to get back on these subsonic aircraft. So yeah, very cool. But yeah, I see you guys on the next one. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe and leave it in the comments if you want to see